Hello, everyone. What is going on? Welcome back to another episode of Marv's Room. I have not done an interview in quite some time. I think the last time I did an interview was with, Melissa, which ironically, Tim did an interview as well, the psychologist out of Canada. We did an interview. Tim and I have both done an interview. And so me and Tim are back today to bring you guys some great content. I've been watching Tim. I've watched some of Tim's videos for the past few months. I found Tim probably, I don't know how many months ago, earlier this year sometime. And I thought, wow, he has a really, really new, fresh perspective, kind of how my perspective is. And you don't see, we were kind of talking behind the scenes and, watching some of his videos, you don't kind of see the perspective that he has along with myself. Very few content creators, in my opinion, are kind of spreading the message in LOA the way he is spreading it, as well as myself, as well as a couple of others. So without further ado, guys, I have Tim with me. Tim, feel free to introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Marvin. Thanks for having me on. I'm Tim. Marvin reached out, and I'm glad to speak with him because it seems like, as you just alluded to, Marvin, this community is crazy, and meaning the LOA, law of assumption manifesting community, and
specifically law of assumption.
Yeah, law of assumption is I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about all of the broader community. My background is more in the law of assumption community, but honestly, I will give a little bit of a serious introduction here.
Okay.
My background with the law of assumption is basically I discovered Neville back in 2014. And so that's 9 years ago. And basically that was before social media had caught wind of Neville, and he was well known in these weird esoteric circles, but not nearly to the degree of popularity that he is today. Exactly. Right. And I immediately was just captivated by his teachings. It aligned with a lot of things that I had kind of thought about before, but had never connected in regards to thinking and imagination, and how unbelievably and underappreciated just how powerful our imagination is. So Neville blew my mind, like a lot of, I'm sure, people watching this. He just blew my mind when I discovered him. It was a different time. I edited a bunch of his older works, put them on Amazon. A lot of them were not curated properly on Amazon, or didn't even exist at that time.
Wow.
And then I wrote a couple, relatively short guides. The first one probably being the most prominent, called Relax More, Try Less. But I wrote a couple short guides about Neville's teachings. And basically those guides are, in a way, an introduction to Neville's stuff, but also it's incorporating what I believe in, and what I, work with people on from a stress management counseling perspective, and how I use, still to this day, Neville's advice in my own life.
Sure.
I would say the most effectively, which is just by heightening my relaxation and trying to find more of a flow and sense of fulfillment in my everyday life. But I mean, that's a long time ago. I wrote those guides in 2015. I edited a few more Neville things after that, but I don't want to say I moved on from Neville. I definitely did not, but I really got turned on to a lot of other interesting manifesting teachers in the years since. And I really only became aware of how crazy this law of assumption community was only, I'd say, 2 years ago, believe it or not. I mean, I was basically offline in regards to this stuff. And I wrote a book called The Law of Attraction Simplified. And I would just, I wanted to talk to more people in the community who were active. And that's how I got, and when I say law of attraction, for me, law of attraction, law of assumption is exactly the same thing. Some people may
I say the same thing.
Yeah,
No,
I know you do.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absurd, but I mean, that's a great example of like people fighting over semantics and bullshit as opposed to
Yeah.
missing the point. And anyway, I wrote that book. You know, I talked about Neville and the Law of Assumption in that book, as well as some other of these great teachers that are very similar and really complement Neville's teachings well. And I slowly got, or not slowly, but gradually got drawn into this online law of assumption community and manifesting community at large. And I've been shocked, honestly. I'm still shocked at the lack of emotional maturity, common
Yes.
sense, and
100.
intelligence that is prevalent in this community. One of my big hopes when like I wrote Relax More, Try Less back in the day, and my expectation, I mean, I wrote in that book, I was like, more serious people interested in psychology, self-improvement, and just bettering the world will hopefully get into Neville's advice in the near future. That was one of my hopes when I wrote that book. What's happened instead in the 8 years or whatever since then is like a lot more people have gotten into Neville's advice, but they're treating it in the most superficial, childish, non-mature way that you could conceive of, in my opinion. And so I think it's
Absolutely.
great that the law of assumption and his ideas are more popular than they were.
Absolutely.
But we're at kind of a dark period now. And I think,
agree.
we can discuss this more, but I think we're beginning to come out of it because people are beginning to catch wind of how this stuff is presented on YouTube and on Reddit and elsewhere is fucking bullshit and not how it actually works for most people. But we're still in that, really in that. And yeah, I mean, I was glad you reached out, and I checked out a little bit of your stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy calls it like it is, as opposed to most people on YouTube. So yeah.
Thank you. And that's why that drew me to you. But like I found out about law of attraction same time around, but I don't think can you hear me? It's unstable. Just want to make sure you hear me.
Yeah, you broke off for a second, but you're okay now. If it gets bad, I'll just
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just let me know. But yeah, like yourself, I became familiar with law of attraction around 2014, like actually looking into it because a friend of mine told me about it in 2009, like Secret time, around that time that movie The Secret came out and everything. Sure. But I hadn't really paid attention to it. And then fast forward 2014 is when I kind of started like doing development self-help. Like there has to be something more. Life shouldn't be this hard. Where's the missing piece? And I think my first book I might have read was Florence book. And then I found out about Abraham Hicks. And then I think I found out about Neville maybe a year or two after that, potentially. And then, I read the books and I was learning, but I wasn't applying, and then towards the end of like around 2017, 2018 is when I started applying. And I was like, oh, how this stuff works, and I found with different things, seeing like certain things, and it was working. And I was like, okay, I'm convinced now. Like Neville says, test it, you know what I mean? And
yes,
I tested it, and it's like, I can't believe this stuff. This is legit. This imagination is what I was missing. And so then I went on to start my channel. And when I started my channel, 2020 maybe.
You just say the last part again, Marvin. You just broke off there at the end there.
I said around 2021. 2020 is when I started my channel, but I think sometime around one was
Lost you.
Can you hear me?
No, but we'll give it a second. Maybe the reception will get better. Sorry about this, folks. This is the beauty of Zoom. Can you?
Zoom. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, hopefully the recording has it. Yeah, I'm picking up most of it. I just want to make sure that So if you just say that last part one more time about the 2021 onward thing. Shoot. It looks like Marvin has left the screen. You're here with just me in my office. I bet you Marvin comes back. Let's see what happens. This, here he is. This is what you don't get on other YouTube channels, is this intimacy. How can you hear me? No.
Yeah. It's kind of like, are you there?
It's on and off. I don't know. I don't know if the recording is picking it up or not. How about now? Are you talking?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. It's just kind of like your screen is just not moving.
Zoom. Love it. Well, we'll keep on going, but then we'll do another one of these again in the future. We'll have to. But
Sure.
I don't mean to turn the tables this interview, but if you could just start again about from like 2021, what you noticed in regards to, your YouTube channel and
yeah,
community.
so it kind of goes full circle with what you were saying. Some always understood the same thing. But then when I was introduced to Reddit back around the time 2020, 2021, and I had only been maybe making videos for about a year or so, maybe, I can remember going on Reddit and seeing a post about me in Reddit. Now, I'm not even a big YouTuber, you know what I mean? I still don't consider myself like a big YouTuber right now as far as is concerned, but I remember going to Reddit and seeing people call myself and others that, preach what we preach, were like, oh, this guy's a law of attraction whore. I wouldn't listen to advice from this guy. Isn't this the guy that took 5 years to hear from his specific person or something like that? And it was just like, I was amazed at the vitriol that the people in the community, and I'm thinking to myself, like, we're supposed to be a spiritual community. We're supposed to be like uplifting and, doing some things like that. And when I saw all of the hate being spewed from a lot of these law of assumption people, and I realized Neville has a very hardcore fan base. Like the people, a lot of people that follow him, not all of them, but a lot of people that followed him a couple of years ago, from what I noticed on Reddit, and even recently now, there's still times where I might see stuff that people in like Neville videos, and because something I like doing is reading comments in videos. Like if I watch people's videos, I love reading comments to see what the people are actually saying about what they're listening to. And it's just the amount of hate that people that follow Neville, the amount of hate that they spew towards people that talk about law of attraction, it's mind-boggling to me. Because like you believe that law of attraction, law of assumption is the same thing. And if you want to break it down in technical terms, you can say, okay, they're slightly different, but to deny law of attraction is to say like denying gravity, right? Or is to denying the fact that that's like somebody saying, oh, in order to breathe, you don't need your mouth, but you need your lungs. You know what I mean? Or you don't need your nose, but you need your lungs. Like you need everything. They all the law work together perfectly, in my opinion. And so I just laugh when I hear people say, oh, I don't practice law of attraction. I practice law of practicing one, you're naturally practicing the others. They're basically the same thing, and they coexist. So yeah, that was kind of like, that.
I lost you there at the very end.
What was the last thing you said?
No, just about how they coexist, and then right after that, I just lost you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So yeah,
I can hear you. But that was
I can't hear you now. If you can hear me here, I'll respond because that was great, and I agree with everything you said. I think that there's a lot of things that are shocking and unfortunate about the Neville community, the law of assumption community. But for me, what really disappoints me is if you're new to this stuff, if you're new to these manifesting concepts, perhaps new to spirituality, perhaps new to self-improvement. And so not like us, because like we came in before this whole thing, this wave of bullshit.
Right.
What's really disappointing is that most people are going to find out about Neville these days through social media. And again, it's good it's out there, right? Because it wasn't out there like it is now 10 years ago. But the way they're going to find out about it is via, unfortunately, a lot of the time, this crazy community, this crazy, like negative, toxic, in my opinion,
it is
community.
Toxic.
It's totally toxic. And it's unfortunate too, because there are people in that community, as you alluded to, even people with very strong opinions who are way too critical of things like the law of attraction, but they still have worthwhile opinions. If it was just, they still have interesting viewpoints. I think.
I agree for sure.
But it doesn't matter because there's so much negativity around that it like even the people who are perhaps too pro Neville and negative against the law of attraction, which again is just insanity, but whatever, you can't even pay attention to that because of just the general presentation, which is, so I mean, if you want to, let's talk about the presentation some. The presentation is juvenile and it's fucking stupid. And I'm not going to go too far into it, but I have, both of us have a bunch of Neville Goddard videos on our YouTube channels. I've got a podcast as well. And like I said, I've written a couple of books about Neville. Like the way that this stuff is talked about, in my opinion, as somebody who's tried their best to implement it in their own lives, and at this point has worked with a lot of people to integrate Neville's great ideas into their lives more.
Sure.
The way it's presented on YouTube, on Reddit, is not going to work for the vast majority of people. And it's so 100%. Watered down that it's not Neville's advice anymore. And quite frankly, I think one of the criticisms you can make in Neville is that his advice was never in many ways as easy as people wanted it to be, in the first place. Like I think there are easier law of attraction teachers. Abraham Hicks in many ways is like maybe easier than Neville, for instance. Like, and there's plenty of other examples of that. Neville, if you do it right, and if you really resonate with his techniques, which I know you've discussed plenty, and I have discussed plenty, it's amazing. And I mean, it's like seemingly like, I still think like the most magical manifestation formula that I know of is the stuff Neville talks about. But I did a podcast episode when I started my podcast like almost 2 years ago called like Neville Goddard Failures, and people were shocked when I posted that, and I'm like, excuse my language, but I was like, motherfucker, this is obvious. This is obvious. You think this fucking shit is working for most people? No way. No way. No fucking way. No way. And this is the thing. People have their heads in the sand. You got to use common sense. If this stuff is working as effectively as most people on YouTube claim, or the Reddit motherfucking morons, I got pulled into Reddit and was a moderator for a short period of time last year.
I saw that in one of your videos. You talked about it.
Yeah. Like it's fucking insane. Okay. So these people are not only insane, they're also fucking stupid. And I'm sorry I swear so much, but you can read my books or listen to my podcast if you don't want to hear me swear and discuss this stuff more civilly. The reality is the YouTubers, the Reddit people, they're talking about it in this completely outlandish, fantastical way. That's not going to work for most people.
It's not.
And if it works for you, it's going to work for you once or a couple times, but not sustainably. You gave
Exactly.
that recent SP example, like the SP stuff. It's like, and I wasn't even aware the SP thing was, just to give you an idea of how, like, unaware I was of like how crazy the community was until like 2.5 years ago. The SP thing, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, because it is such a perversion, in my opinion, of what Neville talks about in regards to self-concept. So, but anyway, that's the community. And it sucks because you do have a lot of really interesting viewpoints if you look really, really, really hard. But what I tell everybody now is don't even fucking look. Don't even go there. It's garbage I agree. I mean, somehow my friend Maggie, AKA Neville Goddess, who's got one of the best.
I've seen her. Yeah.
She's probably the most interesting Neville YouTuber. Somehow, I understand why now. Somehow she became moderator of the subreddit like last year. And I was like, holy shit, how are they letting this lady, because I knew how weird the community was. How are they letting this lady, like this brilliant lady who's in my opinion, a genius talking about this stuff, how are they letting her moderate it? I was like, this is fascinating. And I was, I jumped on board. I tried to help her out. And our friend Cecilia who had been moderating for a while. Like, so I saw it all firsthand. Like the word that comes to mind is mental illness. So
wow, that's powerful.
That's, I just, it bothers me. And it bothers me because not only is Neville not being taken seriously by more people. I mean, he's been taken very unseriously by a lot of people, but a lot of people who would be invested in these ideas and learning about them and trying to apply them gently, lovingly for themselves and others are unable to because of all this bullshit. And it's probably going to take a couple of years for it to clear out. And then there'll be some other thing that they market. That's how it unfortunately seems to work when it comes to this stuff.
Nah, I agree. And that's why when you like you said too, and it bothers me because when I read some of these comments, people come to LOA a lot of times place of desperation.
Yes.
And they really want to manifest a specific person back or a new one or whatever it is. Career and love life to be the two things. And last video, some video, these clickbait saying, "Oh, manifest your specific person in 24 hours. Oh, it happened so fast. Oh, it can happen so quick." And these people click on these videos, getting a false sense of hope, as if they are really going to manifest. Especially when you hear people wanting to manifest a specific person back that's married. When I hear these people, they're like, "Oh, how can I get them back?" I'm thinking to myself, dude, they're married. Like, do you have any idea of self-concept about what Neville talks about? You should be less worried about saying affirmations and affirming for them all day and start taking that energy and putting it into your own self-concept, knowing that you and the Father are one, for instance. You know what I mean? Knowing that you are God, instead of affirming all day, my specific person is constantly thinking about me. My specific person is obsessed with me. My specific person loves me. My specific person is always texting. Like you see, I don't really watch YouTubes anymore from a lot of other YouTubers, but every now and then I click on some videos to see what people are talking about, to hear. And there's so many of these YouTubers out there that make this type of content and give people false hope, like, oh, it's this easy. You can get them back in a week. You can get them back in 3 days. And the reality is like you said earlier, 99% of the time, it's not going to work that fast. It's not going to work that way. And you're perverting the law, in my opinion, because something else that a lot of people don't agree with in Neville communities, law of assumption especially, is this whole concept free will. And, you know, and studying people like, I know you're big on Emile Coué, which I really like a lot of his stuff too. You know what I mean? Emile Coué talks about how the imagination is stronger than the will, right? So he gives the example of you walk across there, and if you imagine walking across that wire just on a regular floor, you can do it, right? But then if you imagine yourself walking across the same wire on a skyscraper, you can't do it. You can't even no matter how much you try to will yourself to walk across that skyscraper, how much you to walk across the beam from one twin tower to the other when they were around. You can't will yourself to do it no matter how hard you try. And Emile Coué talked about that in his auto-suggestion book. He was like, your imagination always overrules your will. Whatever your imagination believes, you know, is what's going to happen. And so that was another piece that a law of assumption people are very afraid of. People that follow Neville are very afraid of. They think we don't have free will. They think whatever we want is what's going to come to pass. And I was conflicted about that for a very long time. And I always leaned more towards Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings in her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, when she talked about, you know, be careful what you wish for in other people. Be careful about trying to force stuff with your will, because a lot of times stuff that's gotten with the will is ill-gotten. And I think she made a very, very great point when she brought that up. And so on some level, for every action, there's object action. I always think about that. Like, you know, why would you try to break up somebody else and their specific person? Would you want somebody to try to break you up while you're with your specific person currently? You know what I mean? But you're playing that game with somebody else. And it's like, you got to be careful with that, because I do believe in some way, some act that can come back to bite you. But I mean, you can let me know your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the kind of shit I don't tolerate.
Yeah.
Dumb, selfish, immature, juvenile. No offense to plenty of mature juveniles out there, but dumb, immature thinking. What, again, just the naive and, you know, ignorant outlook of this community blows me away.
Yeah.
Like you, I mean, I try to, you know, I watch a couple YouTube channels that I like, but I try to just stay out of it at this point. But yeah, I mean, to think that Neville, who, when we look at his teachings in historical context, which most people have not done who are in this community. Very true. His teachings fit, like you said, they might not completely fit. In my opinion, they do completely fit, but they might not completely fit, but they pretty damn close to completely fit with, first of all, Coué, who's my favorite law of attraction teacher and who is not religious, and with the entire New Thought movement, which was a Christian movement. Sure. Christianity, you know, the golden rule is the paramount thing. Do unto others. Yeah. If you think you're going to get away with that horse shit, that manipulative, narcissistic, insane behavior. That's what it is. Then you're out of your fucking mind. And that's what Neville's golden rule is too. Of course. Neville talks about the golden rule all the time. And he talked about, you know, you can potentially break this, especially later on, you know, after the promise. Like, I think he just became, in my opinion, he just became tired. Honestly, he was like, I'm sick of talking about the law. Like, I mean, he still talked about the law plenty, but you know what I mean? He was more interested in his own personal spiritual experiences at that point. And he said, you know, at that point, he was a little bit looser just because I think he was like, you know, whatever, you guys aren't going to listen anyway a lot of the time. Right. Like, but he was like, you know, you could potentially use this to do ill. And he always said that. He said that from At Your
Yeah.
Command, which is from 1939. Like, you can do this to cause harm. But why would you
Yeah.
do that? And, you know, karmic retribution in that sense is a real thing. Florence Scovel Shinn, I agree with you. I think Florence Scovel Shinn, for most people, is a better introductory teacher to these ideas than Neville is, as is for sure The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Murphy,
Yep.
you know, 80% plus of that book is the same content that Neville always talks about. Apparently, they were both taught by Abdullah. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I've heard that too.
regardless, you know, the content and, you know, how Murphy talks about visualization and affirming, it's extremely similar to Neville. The difference is, even though Neville was more eloquent than anybody, Murphy's like usually more practical, and he lays out why this stuff works in everyday language and in like easy to understand psychological language, and why like you have to follow the golden rule or you're going to get fucked. He lays it out amazingly clearly in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, probably in a more clear fashion. I'm not saying better. I'm just saying in a more clear fashion than anything that Neville, you know, presented in book form, let alone his lectures. So, yeah, I mean, I've made a lot of SP videos where I talk about this. Just because, I mean, I started making SP videos as a joke because Maggie made them, and I was like, how does she do this? I got to make some SP videos, because all I talk about in my SP videos is it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you. It's not about the other person, it's you.
Yeah.
And if you love another person, you don't want to manipulate them. This is Christianity 101. This is New Thought 101.
Right.
And, you know, I'm glad you mentioned Coué. You know, Coué is the great, and this is my opinion, obviously, but like, he is the great underappreciated link to all of this. You know, I think people on your channel might already know of him, but like, to those of you listening who don't, Coué is the person to really look into, and I would say study if you want to understand these ideas better. Because like that idea that illustration you just gave, Marvin, of like, the, you know, the wire, right, is the perfect illustration. And Coué does that all the time. He basically proved, without using any spiritual language, he intentionally used like secular everyday language, that your imagination always overpowers the will.
Absolutely.
And that your will is a great power, but your imagination is so much stronger than it. So the idea is to get your willpower aligned with your imagination as well as you can, and then you'll be able to do more and more great things in your life. And, you know, I also should mention that like Coué, even though he very intentionally was not using religious language, if you read about his life and how he taught and how many people he helped heal themselves, because he always said, I don't heal you, you heal yourself.
Yeah.
And he literally helped tens of thousands of people do that. If you read about this guy, he's probably the best example of like, you know, like a walking Christ in this recent, you know, Western law of attraction movement. He's a better example than Neville or Abraham Hicks or Joseph Murphy. I'm not saying that, in my opinion, he was a better teacher, but I'm not saying it's not about best. My point is, Coué walked the walk and had much more success than any of these other teachers that I know of. And I know quite a few of the teachers, you know, I know a little bit about the history of this stuff. But he wasn't sexy. He wasn't eloquent. And I love Neville for those reasons and many other reasons. He wasn't maybe as far out as Neville, but like Coué explains why this stuff works for you. And just as importantly, why it does not, why it's not natural to be able to climb, to, you know, walk over a wire that's, you know, elevated on 2 high buildings and be able to walk without falling. You know, he always said, your imagination, if you believe it, it will do anything you want it to do, as well as it's in the laws of nature. within the laws of nature. And we can debate that. I don't mind people who think otherwise, that everything's in the law of nature. But on a practical, pragmatic level, for most of us, we're trying to improve our lives practically. Like you said, we're trying to improve relationships, improve our professional, jobs, or our outlook on the world, our financial situation, where we live, our health. These are practical things. You go to the law of assumption community, and they're more interested in, like, is it actually possible to fly? Like, can I grow 6 inches? And the answer is maybe you can. And at the same time, I would be more concerned about my level of everyday happiness and feeling that and being able to give that to others than, these very theoretical questions, which is what people get lost in the sand about. And it sounds interesting. It's very interesting theoretically, but it's not relevant for most of us in terms of practically improving our lives. Most of us have stuff we want to clean up. That's why I go to these teachings. I want to clean shit up in my life. Spiritually, I usually feel pretty okay.
Right.
I'm not looking for like deep spiritual solutions always from these people. I'm looking for, like, how can I treat people better? How can I treat myself better? Again, that links back to the relaxation thing and stress management thing. How can I get my house in order? Make sure people are happy, make sure that work-wise, financially, relationship-wise, health-wise, we're in the best shape that we can be.
Absolutely.
And that is a continual and often humbling process for most of us. And you can say, oh, well, Neville was different, da, 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 da. I don't see proof of that.
I don't think Neville was different, because there was manifestations that Neville had. I forget what the one with his brother. His brother was involved or something. That took like 2 years. 2 years had passed. I can't remember the story. It's on the tip of my tongue, but Neville's manifestations definitely didn't happen in a week. A lot of them didn't happen in a week, didn't happen in 72 hours, didn't happen in 24 hours. So this perversion that I see, I guess I try not to blame or judge people, but it's like, because I understand why these creators make these types of titles. And because, let's be honest, let's address the elephant in the room. It's always been about money. It's always been about money. And they capitalize on people's desperation. They know people are desperate. I've worked with people, as I'm sure you've worked with people. I've worked with people who have some of the most horrific stories as far as what they did, what they paid for, people doing black magic, and they still didn't get results. They still didn't get their specific person, and like just a bunch of horrific stories. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what, like, how could these people do this? How could these people go to sleep at night? Some of these content creators, some big content creators that have, over 500,000 subscribers, 6-figure, 7-figure subscribers, And I want people to understand, like, what Tim and I are teaching is the practicality of it all. Like, what we're teaching is what's really going to work. What we're teaching is, listen, if you don't get your manifestation in 24 hours, you'll be okay. You're gonna live, right? If you don't get your person back in a week, you're going to live. You're going to be okay. The sun is gonna rise, the sun is gonna set. It doesn't need to happen overnight the way so many people want it to happen. And like I said, people get discouraged when they read these comments and they think, oh, look at this comment. This person says it works. They got their manifestation in 24 hours, or they got, whatever it was in a week. And it's like, yeah, but how many people are there in the world? That's one out of however many billions of people that happened to. You know what I mean? And then you got to look at the comments. And I tell people all the time, even though law of assumption, Neville, has become more prevalent over the past however many years, this stuff is still very new to most people. And most people still have no idea about law of assumption. Most people still have no idea about law of attraction. And even if they do know about law of assumption, law of attraction, they don't practice it with the consistency of how Coué would say, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. They don't do that every day. They'll do it once, and then they'll take a week off, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, and won't ever affirm again, or won't ever visualize again. And then they'll complain and say, oh, why don't I have my manifestation? Well, you weren't consistent in saying your affirmation every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that's the specific one, but you know what I'm saying. And it's like I'm looking at people and I'm reading comments and I'm like, I hate how this community and some of these teachers make people feel like they're doing it wrong. And I hate how they say, no, you shouldn't listen to Abraham Hicks. So many people hate Abraham Hicks for no reason. So many people might hate Emile Coué for no reason. You know what I mean? And they just denounce all of these great teachers when I always say, I've said in some of my videos in the past, every teacher, in my opinion, has its place in this space. Whether it's yourself, whether it's me, whether it's Abraham, whether it's Neville, whether it's Joseph Murphy, we all have our place. And for whatever level of your understanding, wherever you're at in your level, you know, one of us may be able to help you out on that journey, whether it's Tim, whether it's Abraham, whoever. And so when I see people in comments of videos saying, oh no, don't listen to Abraham, don't listen to law of attraction teachers, don't listen to this person, it just makes me laugh. And I'm just like, I can't believe this, because we're all talking about the same thing. And we're all trying to give you different tools, no matter what the tool is, if it's auto-suggestion, if it's visualization, if it's scripting, we're all trying to give you the tools, and all the tools are the same exact tools. All they do is help you get into the feeling state, whether it's scripting, whether it's auto-suggestion, whether it's, you know, walking meditations, whatever. All of these are just
You just cut off.
which one do you use? Use your toolbox. Yeah, when's the last thing you heard me say? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think everybody got that. I certainly got, yeah. But of
Okay,
course,
cool.
yeah, no, it's, I would just add that it's, well, I mean, here's something interesting, actually, to some of you, maybe to you, Marvin. I actually don't read, I sometimes read comments and I feel bad because I get, or at least I used to get a lot of really good comments. But I stopped replying to comments. Sure. And I don't even read YouTube comments anymore because, in my opinion, it's social media. It's social media in the same way that Reddit is, and everything's been infected with this horse shit. So it sucks. I mean, I really like interacting with people in like a mature way, in the way that you just described, and the way we're talking about, where everybody keeps a level head and realizes that we all have stuff to share, and that we don't have to jump at each other with a moment's notice and say, you're doing it wrong, you know, because it's so much of this stuff is like, you know, I talk about this in the Law of Attraction Simplified. You can get like one thing from a teaching, and the rest you can like strongly disagree with. Not only like actively dislike. And even if you just get one thing, it's helpful. But the hard part is dropping the stuff that you dislike. You know what I'm saying? That takes maturity, like sifting. And oftentimes, like I said, like it's like the Reddit thing. Like I'm not willing at this point to sift through to find the few things that are good, because you have to deal with the bullshit too. But yeah, I mean, I don't, unfortunately, like I just have people email me if they want to talk to me, you know, or like, because I don't take the YouTube comments seriously anymore either. I want to, because there's clearly intelligent people commenting on there. But unfortunately, at least on my channel, the majority of comments are just insane. And again, this is something Maggie and I always talk about. I think she recently disabled her comments again. I made a video on this somewhat recently about just like the crazy Neville commenters. And it's not just Neville, it's the whole manifesting space. The comments unfortunately mislead people, exactly as you said. It makes the expectation being that, oh, you're going to get this quickly. You're doing something wrong. You're not manifesting something in 24 hours, in 3 weeks, in whatever. And that is just, it's totally crazy to think that. This is a lifelong, organic, holistic process. If you want to manifest things really quickly, you can focus on teachers who talk about doing that. But understand the amount of people claiming big things on YouTube comments doesn't necessarily mean that the teaching is better than some other teaching. A lot of those YouTube comments, I don't believe. Plenty I do believe, but there's more to it than just fast results. Because people who get fast results tend to not get sustainable results, especially on that emotional golden rule level.
I agree.
Where you want to feel long-term satisfaction. YouTube's such a shit show. I mean, titles, it's almost become a joke now. My favorite title of last year, I did YouTube titled Neville Goddard's Big Penis. You know, I mean, like, it's people want,
Yeah.
you know, want it to be seen. So I don't know if it's all about money. You know, I think people want to be heard, and like titles are getting more and more ridiculous. Like, you know, Joseph Rodriguez, who's an OG, you know, he's been doing YouTube videos, interesting YouTube videos. Really the only person I can think of off the top of my head who's for years done interesting YouTube videos about these various teachings. Like, I was looking at some of his new titles. And my titles are ridiculous now. But anyway, Joseph's titles are like ridiculous. I'm like, that's the state of things now. But that is very different than consistently claiming you're going to get fast results. There's something wrong with you. Just persist. You know, your problem is you don't persist enough. Those teachers are basically gaslighting you, and those people in that community are basically gaslighting you by doing that.
Absolutely.
It's just not sane or mature. And, you know, to toot my own horn a little bit, like if you listen to my podcast, not my YouTube videos where I'm swearing and a maniac in the car, which a lot of people like more. But if you listen to my podcast from the beginning, we're at almost 100 episodes. I think we've got 99 episodes. That's like me soberly talking about these various principles and teachers.
Right.
And it's like, if you want like a course, a free course in like ways to apply this stuff, that's right there. Like, that's like sober as sober can be. Like, and it's been probably the 100th episode will probably be about this. I've been shocked by the relative indifference people have to that type of content. They want me to talk about Neville's big dick in my car.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm very capable of doing that because, like, you know, I'm an informal guy. But like, I thought when I wrote Relax More, Try Less back in the day, when I started the podcast, when I wrote, you know, a few years ago, The Law of Attraction Simplified, that there was a lot of people who wanted to get serious about this stuff. And what I found is that there are plenty of people who do, but they're quiet.
True.
And the vast majority of people you see or who comment, who are on YouTube and Reddit, they don't want to get serious about it. You know, and if you get serious about it, I don't think it's that different than other forms of spirituality or counseling or therapy or self-improvement. I think these things, as you touched upon, they link together. Everything links together so interestingly and beautifully in our lives in that way to help us feel better and you know, become better people if we're not assholes to each other about it all the time. And I'm an asshole too. We all are assholes, right? But like, you got to use some common sense and decency. And that's not apparent a lot of the time in the law of assumption community. So
I agree. And I think, like you said earlier, I think people are starting to wake up to a lot of the nonsense going on. And what I want people to really understand is that you can manifest anything. You can manifest a specific person, new or old. You 100% can, but understand that every action has opposite reaction. Number one, remember Neville's golden rule. But also too, remember people like Tim and myself, we're trying to really show you how to practically use these laws, these teachings, and we're trying to show you how to practically use these laws and teachings in order to manifest your specific person the right way and to keep your specific person the right way. Because something we alluded to earlier, the way that a lot of these people are teaching you to get manifestations, in my opinion, it's not sustainable. You're not going to keep it. It's something you alluded to earlier. You're not going to be able to keep it. And it's going to be this, oh, I got them back for 30 days and now they left again. Oh, I got them back for 6 months. Now they're gone again. And I'm sure you ran into this to where so many people are probably quite exhausted from affirming all day, every day. They get stress and anxiety from feeling like they're doing it wrong. They get stress and anxiety from feeling like they got to do it every day. And when I work with people all the time, I tell them, listen, if you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. You know, I know me personally, I don't do LOA stuff every single day. I don't force it. You know what I mean? Forcing is something I talk to people a lot about. You know what I mean? I don't force a lot of things. I allow, you know, so if I wake up and I don't feel like doing an affirmation, guess what? I'm not going to do it. If I wake up, you know, and I'm not telling everybody to do it the way I'm doing it, but what I am saying is you know, there is a time and a place. You know, if you want to be like that, go ahead. If you don't, then don't. But you'll find out sooner or later based on how you feel, because something Abraham Hicks always says that I agree with a lot is your feelings are your internal guidance system.
Exactly.
That's how you know if you're doing something right, or if you're wrong, or if you're out of alignment, is based on how you feel. So if you're doing something and it doesn't feel good, that's a clear indication from, you want to say your higher self, whatever, that's a clear indication that you're communicating to yourself, this might not be for me. This isn't for me. And that's what I would just say to all the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And at the same time, because I actually do talk a lot about robotic affirming and affirming a lot. But the reason I do, and I talk about a ton of other stuff, don't get me wrong, it's not like my favorite technique by any means, but the reason I talk about it is when you are desperate and in a really bad place emotionally, because feeling is the secret, right? At least most of the time.
Yeah.
But when you really feel like shit, you can, at least at that point, force yourself to do affirmations. Just do it to do it. But it's like really like a last ditch thing when you're doing affirmations in that way. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, for some people, it's very, like sometimes like when I take a walk, for instance, it's very comforting to have an affirmation as like a mantra. But if you're in a high stress situation where you're trying to manifest, especially a specific person back,
right,
and you feel like shit, the reason robotic affirmations work when a lot of stuff doesn't work is at least it, like Coué says, you can only think one thing at once. So you just keep on saying it. Right. But you still have to acknowledge, as you just said, that like you probably don't feel that great. Like the idea is to fucking feel better. Like that's what you want. Like, and it's that's why you want that specific person back. I mean, honestly, you got to fucking focus on feeling better. Then you're more likely to get the specific person back. Then you're not acting crazy. But like,
absolutely.
But yeah, it's just a tool. Affirmations are a tool. All the stuff, as you said, they're tools to point us there. I gave an example in a recent video when you're robotically affirming. It's like, you know, you're digging a big hole by robotically affirming. You're using the shovel, but it's not the plants that, it's not the yield, it's not the fruit or the vegetable you're going to get 3 months later.
Right.
You know, active affirming is, I talk a lot about it because it does relate to Coué, but you got to remember Coué and also people like Joseph Murphy, who talked about affirmations, they generally recommended doing it for a very short period of time each day. A couple of minutes, 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes max.
It's a great point.
But one reason that it worked well for them, for a lot of people that they recommended that too, is because they did it with feeling and they felt conviction and belief. When you don't believe, you can affirm, because gradually that will shift your belief, hopefully, but it's a last ditch thing. It's not like just going to keep on affirming, baby. Again, too much willpower, probably. You know, it's all about the imagination. You know, the only willpower when you actively affirm is you have to convince yourself to keep on doing it. But it's not that willpower, that effort's not doing shit. The imagination is like, you know, I have my SP back. Your imagination is saying, no, you don't. Right. And so you imagine doing that for hours and hours and hours and hours. I have, unfortunately, as I'm sure you have, dealt with clients who that's an issue. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, it sucks. It sucks, you know. Every technique, you know, it's fun to play with techniques, but you got to find what works for you. And you also realize that feeling good is more important than any specific technique. And that what works for you one time is not necessarily going to work for you again. And what always works is focusing on yourself and focusing on feeling better, you know, and relying on the few things that consistently work for you. You know, I mean, for me and for a lot of my clients, like I share simple ways to hopefully feel a little bit better, and like the joy of not thinking, which is a short guide I wrote. Like, but they're not manifestation techniques, really. It's just like trying to figure out how can I feel better relatively quickly, you know, and give myself a break. So anyway, I know you probably got to go, and I got to go too soon. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. This was fun, man. Well said. Well said. Way to end that. This was amazing. Hopefully a lot of you guys got a lot of gems from today's video and understanding the real aspects and what manifestation really is, in order to get what you want and not get so hyped around all of the fluff and the watering down that this community has turned into. Just like religion, it's turned into I'm right, you're wrong. This is the way to do it. Don't do it that way. And it's just really sad. But hopefully, Tim, the way Tim stated everything, the way I stated everything, helped you guys get a sense of, how you want to go about manifesting things from here on out, and not from a place of desperation, but from a place of being happy and acceptance and knowing where you want to go, where you are, accepting that, and just continue to get better. So, Tim, I don't know what you want to leave everybody with, but do your thing.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Marvin. And I'll leave you with this. I mean, we always talk about this on my channel. You're already okay. You're already okay.
I like that.
Yeah, you're already okay. So I hope we conveyed some of that. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you for joining me. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Bye.